How many of you are members of Women in Aviation International? Great, wonderful. How many of you have been to one of the conferences? What? All right, well you can come up here and help with the presentation. All right, so just a little quick background, our mission. We want to encourage women to seek opportunities in aviation and aerospace, provide comprehensive resources and benefits to assist women in aviation move into their careers and their dreams, provide industry access to highly qualified employment resources, and I got some exciting news today, you'll see a little bit later, ties into that. Foster aviation and aerospace education, and last but not least, to promote public understanding of accomplishments and contribution of women throughout aviation history. So that's a quick nutshell, a little bit about what we do. Brief history. Well, I tell people women in aviation did things backwards. Usually, if an organization, you're going to have an organization, and after it's formed and you get all your bylaws done and all those things, and decide to have an annual meeting or convention or conference or whatever you're going to call it. Well, Women in Aviation started as a conference that became an organization. We'll talk about that. So in 1990, and one of the other presenters or people introducing said they were from Embry-Riddle. So I have to say the conference actually began under the auspices of the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University campus in Prescott, Arizona. And putting together a series of workshop seminars for the year, looking ahead to March, we said, oh, March, Women's History Month. Wouldn't it be great to bring some women to the campus and hold a conference? And that concept kind of grew a little bit. From there, we opened it up to the general public. And as the person stated, the percentage of women students back at 89-90 in in Prescott was about 6%. So we thought this would be great. The students can see women out there doing things in aviation. So some of the speakers that first year included Bobby Trout, an early air racing pilot back from the 1920s and 30s. We had Dr. Shannon Lucid, an astronaut. Gina Yeager, who just 4 years prior had flown around the world nonstop in the Voyager airplane with Dick Rutan. We had Dr. Bert Hal Granger, a WASP, one of the World War II WASP pilots. We had, oh, now my mind just went blank. One of the air traffic controllers from the Prescott Tower, also from the Phoenix Tower. Oops, came back. Well, so about 150 people showed up at that first conference in 1990. Next year, I'd taken a position at St. Louis University, and in St. Louis at Parks College, we decided, well, that worked pretty well in Arizona at Embry-Riddle. Why don't we put on a Women in Aviation conference here in St. Louis? So we did, and had about 250 people show up. Conference kept growing and being held. And after about 6 years, with about now 500 or 600 attendees, and somebody said, hey, you know, it's great to come to this conference once a year, but how do I join the organization? I don't know. There's not an organization. It's an annual conference that the university is putting on. But kind of, oh, well, maybe there's a thought here. And we're going to talk about how that evolved. So, oops, went the wrong way. So I'm going to jump ahead. So 25 years later, we had our 2014 conference in Orlando with close to 5,000 people in attendance. We just had our conference in Reno, Nevada, so some shots from there. And scholarships. We awarded 141 scholarships worth over $600,000 during the Reno conference alone. I'm going to give you a little history about the scholarship program too in just a minute. So annual conference attendance, and you'll see the last couple of years you see a slight decline. Well, what happened? We had a nice bump for about 3 years. The airlines were hiring. Anybody hear about that? Airlines hiring? So the airlines were showing up at the conference, they had exhibit booths, and all of a sudden we had an extra 1,000, 1,200 people say, hey, I want to come to your conference. We hear the airlines are there. We want a job. So we had a nice bump. Airlines now are no longer doing this pre-hiring, if you will, at conferences. They're now doing it at their own facilities, so that kind of lost that little bump. But anyway, conference cities. We go to different cities around the country, move the conference around. And next year, of course, we're going to be in Long Beach with you, and looking forward to the joint event. I know we've done that a couple of times in the past, and we think it's great. And how great, too, Long Beach, right? SpaceX. Okay, so Long Beach, there's the dates, March 14 through 16. That's a Thursday through Saturday. And we've already been talking. I was out there in January and met with the folks at Robinson Helicopter, so we're looking at possible tour of Robinson Helicopter Facility, which is located in Torrance, about a half an hour away. And you just saw SpaceX headquarters there. We've got some preliminary discussion and got a chance to see the SpaceX headquarters. Not sure how many people they'll be able to accommodate to do that, but we're working to make that happen. And hopefully you'll get to hear Gwen again if you come. So invited her. So we're together again in 2019. So growing membership, our membership's continuing to grow, about 12,800 active members, and we have individual members, student members, corporate members, and international members. So representing a lot of different things and people in aviation. We have members from 79 countries now. Wow. Oops. 117 chapters all around the world in 17 countries, so providing year-round networking. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Experimental Aircraft Association and their founder, Paul Poporesny. Well, several years ago, as we were the concept of now forming an organization, Paul Poporesny had been one of our banquet speakers at our conference, I think it was 1993 in St. Louis, and this is now end of 94, early 95. I'm in Oshkosh for a meeting in January. And I know why they have the convention in July. You don't want to be in Oshkosh, Wisconsin in January. Anyway, we had a meeting. There was a lunch break. And I was sitting at the table with Paul. And before we reconvened to come back in for the meeting, I said, Paul, and I was thinking this would, like a 10 or 15-minute question. I said, Paul, you came to that conference, a year and a half ago. We're getting ready to start an organization. If you were to start EAA all over again, what would you do the same, and what would you do differently? Oh my goodness, I wish I had a tape recorder. We sat and talked for almost an hour and a half. And one of the key things that came out of that conversation was the chapters. He said, the chapters have been one of the biggest successes, if you will, for the organization in terms of member connections, member commitment. And he called them the little churches. He says they're the ones out putting in the message about the organization. And that was one of the reasons why Aviation started the chapter program right after we got started. So a little background on all that. If there's, and we encourage all of you, find out if there's a chapter in your area. We'd love to have you involved if you're not already. And if there's not a chapter in your area, Molly Martin on our staff would love to talk to you about starting one. So. Scholarships. Let's try this again. Stay right there. All right. So we got starting the organization. Already had the annual conference. Talking about starting chapters. One of the other things we said, if we were going to help encourage, particularly young people, but middle-aged people and maybe older, to go for their aviation dreams, to help them realize their goals. And as we know, particularly if you're talking about maybe learning to fly, if you're interested in the pilot aspect of aviation, it can be rather expensive for flight training. We thought, well, we'd like to help. So we had, at that first conference in 95, when we were starting the organization, we said, well, how can we raise some money for a scholarship program? So we had a table, something like you have here with a silent auction, set up, and people could buy tickets, $1 a chance, or 6 for $5. And we sold enough tickets during the 3-day event we raised a little over $1,000. Gave out 2 $500 scholarships, and we thought, this is great, $1,000 for scholarships, yes. The next year we're going to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Northwest Airlines had already agreed to provide some tours. They were going to help sponsor one of the events during the conference. And they came up to me after the 95 conference and said, hey, you've got the organization going now, and we see you're trying to start a scholarship program. We want to help with the scholarships. Yay. So maybe they'll give us another $1,000 or something. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Double our scholarships in 1 year. I said, oh, no. We don't want to give cash. And at first I thought, aw. What does that mean? We want to give a type rating. Wow, that's what I said. Wow. Well, what airplane? Any airplane in our fleet. All right. So they gave us the criteria. Obviously, that person had to have some previous flying experience, medical certification, a few things like that. So we advertised it. And in March '96, the luncheon, the senior vice president for Northwest Airlines got up on the riser like this. He was like 6'10", I think, very tall. And nobody knew who the winner was, except a few people from Northwest. He got up the podium, he says, the winner of our type rating scholarship is, he called out her name, Jody Osborne. She was sitting at a back table near the center of the room. She jumped up and screamed. We have it on video. I love watching it. She came running down the center aisle, jumped up on the podium, hugged the vice president. She's about this tall. And He said, well, young lady, you've won the scholarship. What airplane do you want to fly? No hesitation, she came right back, 747. So she got her type rating in the 747, and as a result of that, some other companies came up and said, well, we'd like to help with this scholarship program too. So it's amazing what the competition factor will have. So over the years, the scholarships, we don't just have them for airline type rating. We have scholarships for everything on the flight side. Somebody wants to get their recreational pilot certificate, private pilot, instrument rating, CFI, all different kinds of multi-engine. But also we have scholarships for maintenance, engineering, management, a variety of them. So it was really fun. 2 years ago, at the closing banquet, we announced, and it was kind of great that the person who happened to be the person that got up on stage when this happened, was a recipient of a brand new scholarship, had just been named 2 years ago. It was the Martha King CFI scholarship, somebody who was already a flight instructor to get an advanced flight instructor certificate. So we were keeping track. We knew we were getting close to a major milestone. We've been keeping track over the conference week. We knew sometime during the week of the conference, probably at the banquet, we were going to reach this milestone. Sure enough, as we were calculating for that night, we knew which person it was going to be. So when John and Martha King got up on stage, announced their winner, and she was coming up, all of a sudden music played, balloons falling, all kinds of fun things. We reached $10 million in scholarship in 20 years. So it's been fun to watch. What else do we do? Well, we have, I think all of you hopefully have a copy at your desk. I know, and I'm going to ask two of other staff members, Women in Aviation, are here. Cassandra Bosco and Kelly Murphy. Kelly's our Director of Communications. Cassandra handles our youth and education outreach efforts. So Aviation for Women magazine, you're actually seeing the preview. It's in the mail now. Our May-June issue began in 1998, so 20-year anniversary of the magazine. Our website, WAI.org. Mentorship program, we think that's one of our most important membership benefits. We just revised, upgraded the mentor program. So we would ask all of you also to consider, if you're a member, to be a mentor, or if you're looking for somebody to be a mentee. Either way, it's a member-to-member benefit. And we just launched in early March our new Jobs Connect program. So all of our corporate members, if they're a member of WAI, they can post any and as many jobs as they want to for free for a year. And then we told our members at the conference, start looking at the website because jobs are going up there. And again, it's members only section, so a new initiative. Social media, we're all kinds of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Did I miss anything? I got it. Okay. So what makes us unique? We're not just for pilots. And that was part of the struggle, if you will, in our early years. People say, oh, it's a pilot group. No, not just for pilots. We're for air traffic controllers, engineers, mechanics, flight attendants, educators, writers, anybody, artists in aviation. You can be a member of Women in Aviation. And that's been the case since the very beginning, since that first conference in 1990. Our members represent the commercial airline industry, and I have to say we're now kind of trying to let people know, because for 3 or 4 years now we've had this big concentration of people coming because of the airline job. We're not just commercial airline. So we have corporate aviation, general aviation, military, and it's women and men. In fact, about 22% of our members are men. Very supportive, very active in the organization in a lot of different ways. And I just turned it off, didn't I? Thank you. So we are at different trade shows and events participating. Girls in Aviation Day. I'm going to kind of end with this. So I'm going to tell you, Girls in Aviation Day, 5 or 6 years ago, one of our keynote speakers called me about a month or two before the conference, and he said, hey, I have 4 daughters at home. 2 of them are in high school. Would it be okay if I brought maybe 1 or 2 of them to the conference when I come to speak? Would that be okay? I said, well, sure, bring all 4 of them if you'd like. We'd love to have them come, sure. So I mentioned at a staff meeting, and one of our staff members, Pat Lukey, said, oh, bring your daughter to the conference. Sounds like bring your daughter to work day. Bring your daughter to the conference. Okay. So we started promoting for that year. Bring your daughter, your granddaughter, your niece, your neighbors, whatever, whoever you wanted to bring, come to the conference. And we planned a special one-day event on that Saturday. And we invited local kids from the city where the conference was that year to come and be part of this program we now call Girls in Aviation Day. Actually, it was Bring Your Daughter to the Conference that first year, and had some hands-on activities and some career information. Well, that continued to grow, and we held it every year. But then about 3 years ago, we said, you know, it's nice we do this once a year at our conference, but it really only benefits a conference attendee if they bring somebody with them, or kids in the local area, and that's good. But we've got all these chapters all around the world. Well, what if we could replicate this concept, share it with the chapters, and ask them to hold an event in their local area? So 3 years ago, we held the first Girls in Aviation Day event, had about 40 chapters who said, yeah, we'll give that a try. Had about, I'm trying to remember, about 3,500 kids, I think, that first year, if I remember right. Second year, going to do it again. About 60-some chapters participated, and about 6,500, I think, kids there. This past year, September 2017, we had 9,700 young people participate. I think there were 72 events all around the world, and we're going to have another event this year, I think, October 13, 2018. And now if we'll go to the video, please. Out of Girls in Aviation Day came a new publication called Aviation for Girls, which we'll be publishing again this year in time for the Girls in Aviation Day event. And I want to say again, if any of you, we'd love to have you join, be part of Women Aviation. Even in your role, air traffic controllers, whether you're in center, TRACON, tower, we'd love to have you participate in the Girls in Aviation Day activities. I know, is Dawn in here? I saw yesterday. Dawn Barrett? Oh, she was instrumental in the Girls in Aviation Day program at in Minneapolis last couple of years. Tremendous outgrowth, and they gave some tours. Some of the kids got to go up in the tower. We have an air traffic control air traffic control simulation program that some of the chapters use too as part of their Girls in Aviation Day. So we're definitely including air traffic control as one of the career options that we're sharing with these kids ages 8 to 16. And again, just wanted to say, we'd love to have members of PWC involved in any way you'd like to and be part of this youth program to encourage kids to consider aviation as a career. So any questions you might have for me about the organization or about the conference next year or anything shared today? And you're all still awake after lunch. I love it. All right. Well, thank you for letting me be a part of your program this year. We'll see you in... Yes.
Can you talk about how that model could be duplicated with PwC?
How could a chapter model be duplicated with PwC? Some of you may be able to answer that better, but I would say if you've got members, several of them in a geographic location, and I'll just throw it out. Let's say in the Dallas area, you've got multiple airports and people involved in PwC. Our chapters typically meet once a month, and we have, I guess I didn't mention, out of the chapters, I think 44, 45 are located on college university campuses. So we have college university chapters. We also have the professional, if you will, regular chapters. And it's up to them. Like the college chapters don't meet during the summer because they're pretty much, a lot of them gone. And they meet, any day of the week. They bring in speakers. They do tours. They do an education outreach effort. Now, most of them pretty much with the Girls in Aviation Day program. So I think that would be an excellent thing to consider. Sure. All right, again, thank you very much. Okay, one more question.
Can you talk a little bit about next year? Because we're going to combine.
Yes. Next year, you saw the dates, March 14th through 16th. So our pattern is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. PwC has held their conference overlapping with ours previously. Usually you pick Friday or Saturday, and it's up to you. So we provide a special one-day conference registration rate to PwC members for that year's event. Basically helps pay for the cost of the lunch or the dinner, depending on which day you're coming, to help with some of those expenses that we have.
And then we'll have the Queen Mary.
I understand that your block of room is on the Queen Mary.
We'll talk about this at our middle business meeting.
Yeah, we have reservations at 6 different hotels next year, including the Queen Mary. The actual meetings will be at the convention center for us. We keep growing. It's a good problem, and it has its challenges too. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.